hope you guys are having a great day. Welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and today we have a very special guest. This brother Jamal Green, who is an activist out of Chicago, who is doing some interesting work. And he's in the middle of some interesting, an interesting controversy right now. So Jamal is giving us the honor of speaking with us today. I want to ask my brother, how you doing today, man?
Man, I'm beautiful, man. It's a beautiful day.
All right, all
Yeah.
right. And so everybody that comes in, let's do a quick audio check. Give me a quick yes in the chat if you can hear us. Okay, let us know that you can hear and see everything. All right, as we get started. So as you come in, I'm going to just jump right into it. So Jamal, you were the subject of a really interesting back and forth on Twitter involving none other than Mr. Roland Martin, and apparently. It looked like some things got kind of heated where Roland, from what I understood, he attacked you on your Twitter page. He came at you first. You did not tweet at him. You did not say anything about him. And then you actually paid him a little visit at a DNC event. Let's just start from the top, man. So what's going on with Roland? What happened?
Well, this was unprovoked. Let me first say that Roland has spotlighted me on his show for some of the work that I've done throughout the years. I remember a clip when I announced for mayor, and he put up a clip on his show. He talked about basically spotlighting me in a good light. And I think what's happening right now is that Roland is not liking independent voices who are being critical, saying that Black people deserve more from both sides, right? I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. I'm independent. And so when I speak, I say, man, we must have a plan and an agenda from both sides of the aisle, and force their hand. We can't just say, oh, we're Democrat, or we voting for Kamala just because she's Black. We're only voting for her because she's a woman. We can't play those type of games. We have to actually have a real plan. So Roland, I guess, saw some of my tweets, and he decided all right out the blue, I'm just gonna attack Jamal Green, starting with, are you dumb, and you can't be this clueless, and he called me an idiot in another tweet. And then I just happened to click on his live show, and he was calling me a fool on his live show. So, Roland was just wilding out, and I didn't see him attacking me till 3-4 hours later. And he already had 30-some thousand views, and people was dragging him for how he was operating with me. So that's the beginning of it.
Okay.
of
So
how it happened.
So all right. So let's I'm gonna brief everybody. So just to be clear, you were not an aggressor toward Roland.
No.
You pretty much just stated your opinion, and so he
Right.
kind of came at you. He came to your Twitter page and made some nasty comments. Or you said he called you dumb. And what else did he say?
Dumb, clueless. He said, y'all can't be listening to this idiot spewing this BS. When I went on his show, he was calling me a fool. He just was, man. He was reckless, and it caught me off guard, because I'm like, wow, okay, Roland Martin coming out to me, all out the blue. I would have thought that he'd have DM me, or he'd have responded and said, well, I disagree, young brother. We need to listen more, or how you think he know everything. I would have thought he would have approached it in a more diplomatic way. Unfortunately, he just all out the blue started questioning my intelligence and calling me names, and that's kind of what kicked it off.
Interesting. Okay, so I actually put a clip of the interaction you and Roland had, and I want to ask you about that, just in terms of what was going on to me, because I watched the video, I listened to what you had to say, I listened to, actually there was a group of people in the Twitter space that were kind of going back and forth about it, and they had different opinions, right?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna ask you about all of that, because you and I talked earlier, and I want everybody to know I was impressed with you. You know that it was the first time you and I had ever spoken, and what impressed me is that you're not just a Twitter gangster. You know, you really are out doing the work.
Yep.
And also, you've really done a lot of things in the community that give you a certain amount of credibility to even have this perspective. And I think everybody should know that. Let's
Sure.
start there, actually, before I show the clip. Tell everyone about who you are, what you do. I mean, you do a lot of stuff in Chicago. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, well, I've been in the community since I was a young teenager. You know, whether it was being the Put the Guns Down ambassador for the city of Chicago, whether it was leading the Laquan McDonald movement when he was shot 16 times. And we brought forth a lot of different reforms because we were shutting down the financial districts in the city, and they were losing hundreds of millions of dollars. So we were getting very quick policies, and everyone in the state politically lost their seat because of the movements that we were leading, bringing thousands of people throughout the city each and every day together to fight against the injustices of our city. You know, whether it was not just leading different cases, but actually pouring back into the community. You know, when George Floyd riots happened and those Black businesses throughout the city were looted because the mayor raised the bridges and prevented them from coming downtown. We raised $250,000 and gave it out within 5 days to get businesses back open. Also, you know, our company Generational Green, where we teach folks how to create generational wealth through real estate. And, you know, there are thousands of people right now in our program, and each and every day they're closing our homes for the first time from coming through our program, fixing their credit, tax clinic, etc. Really empowering people financially. I went after the largest bank in the world a few years ago, Chase Bank, and, you know, was banned from every Chase Bank in America because of it. But we went in and we pulled up into many branches, shut over 35 branches down over and over again for months until Chase gave back $1 billion, promised $1 billion back to the city of Chicago. So we've been in this fight, and in every angle, especially if you're a resident of our city, that you know my work, and Roland knows my work because he spotlighted my work. And so I just have a problem with folks who play on Twitter and play on they shows with folks, and they're not actually doing the work out here to bring resources to people each and every day. There are people every day that depend on me, that I employ, that I mentor, that I invest in, that I make sure I have groceries. We're doing the actual work while he playing with his Twitter fingers.
All right. So, by the way, everybody, if you just came in, I'm speaking to Mr. Jamal Green. Jamal is he's an activist. He's a businessman. He's a young brother that cares about his community. He lives in Chicago, and that sparked my interest, particularly after he had an interesting interaction with Roland Martin. And we're going to get to that in a second. But I don't want the drama to override what's important here. What's important is that this man cares about his community, and he has a voice that definitely needs to be heard. So do me a favor, everybody, as you come in, please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. And I'm gonna share some. So you okay? So let's get back to the events of the moment. So here's what I saw. Right. So I'm just going through Twitter, and then I see this situation where you walked up on Roland at the DNC. And just to make it clear, you weren't planning to like knock him out or nothing, right? But you just wanted to confront him and basically say, you were saying these things about me online. Let's talk about it man to man, face to face. Can you kind of talk us through that? And while you're talking, I'm gonna pull up an image of Roland's face. You captured the screenshot of his face when it was just kind of funny. But go ahead, brother. Yeah. Describe what you were thinking as you walked up to Roland at the DNC event. Why you did it? What was going on in your mind?
Well, let me say this. I told Roland I was coming. Roland knew I was coming. Everyone knew I was coming. I publicly said it on Twitter and said, I'll be at this event that you're going to be at, so we can have this conversation face to face. Now, Roland knew that. Roland saw it. Now, matter of fact, Roland blocked me. And if you go and find the tweet where he talked about how he blocked me, he said that he blocked me because I said all the coons gonna be at this event that I'm gonna be at, and he blocked me because I was talking about the event that we went to, and so he knew I was gonna be at this event. I went in there, just to talk. Hey, we can have a conversation, man to man, about what happened. I sat and listened to the event. I didn't disrespect the event. I was there to hear what they had to say, which was a bunch of nothing. Roland Martin, might as well have been a lecture because he didn't listen to anybody at this event. So the event was over. They did the benediction. The pastor left. Most of the people were gone. The pastor was nowhere to be found. Everybody left. So he probably heard about this and was like, what happened? He had a few singers that were there that he was taking some pictures with. I sat there and let him take his pictures. I did not interrupt or go into this event trying to assault this man because I had ample opportunity and he didn't have security. The best security he had was the woman that he hid in front of. And so, or hid behind rather. So, I waited. He kept saying, wait a sec, or no, give me a sec. And he basically was scared trying to run. And he didn't want to have a conversation with me. And this shows that he's a grown child, because only a grown child is going to attack, go online and go on his show and attack me over and over again. Then when he see me face to face and he knows he's going to see me, not say not a word the whole time. At any point in time, he could have said, hey, I know you here to see me. Let's have a conversation. Let's go in the hallway. Let's talk. And he just sat there and put that woman in front of him and shut up like a church mouse. I mean, he's a grown child.
Well, you know what? I actually have that clip that I actually shared it on my Instagram. My Instagram is Dr. Boyce Finance, and everybody should also follow J Mall as well. And here is the clip. I'm going to go ahead and play it. Hopefully y'all can hear the audio and you can kind of see for yourself. So here we go. Okay, now what I also shared, and again, I put this up on my Instagram. If everybody wants to check it out, it's also on J Mall's page on Twitter. So let me ask you this: so you were basically referencing what he said on Twitter yesterday. Let me ask you this, J Mall. So if let's say Roland did man up and didn't, the lady didn't call security and all that, and he said, okay, well, let's talk about it. What would that conversation have looked like? What conversation were you looking for in that moment?
Well, it depends on how he wanted to operate. I wasn't trying to fight him in there. The conversation is, he could have easily de-escalated this situation and said, man, hey, I know I said some of these things on Twitter and on my show. I felt that you was wrong when you was criticizing Kamala's plan or whatever he had to say. And we could have had that conversation and we could have been done with it. You get what I'm saying? And we don't have to like each other. But I think that he needs to understand that you can't utilize your platform to just be targeting people and attacking them with the verbiage that he's using. Because he could have easily said, man, I disagree with you because of X, Y, and Z, or come on my show and debate me or anything else. He's too old to be sitting on his platform finding people to attack, because I didn't come for him and I never mentioned him. And so for him to come on my platform and, attack me just when it's unprovoked and just say, oh, you dumb and you're an idiot because you don't agree with me. I think he needs to be more professional as somebody who is his age and somebody who is trying to move forward the democratic message that he's paid to do. He should be in a way trying to figure out how he should convince me that he's right, not attacking me. And that just shows you when people say the word elder, he's not an elder, because an elder, and why I have many elders, many I talked to today, who would never in their right mind be on their platform calling young people stupid and dumb because they're not agreeing with the elders or with their thoughts. He's just an old fool to me.
That's an interesting point you make, because it is kind of awkward. you know, when the young men are showing more maturity than the older men. You know, that's the part that bothers me. You and I talked today, and I told you I've seen Roland behave like a buffoon for many years. I saw the way he tried to bully King Randall when he did, but King Randall, he's a Marine. You can't bully him, you know, and King Randall's done more work by the age of 23, 24 than half these fools have done at the age of 50, you know, and what I really don't understand, honestly, is this chaos that happens around election season, where I know what you're fighting for, because I mean I'm a Chicago guy myself. I'm not born and raised, but I've been here since 2014, man. And I see what you see. I see what's going on with how they're giving more money to immigrants than they're giving to black people. I've seen where when you did that stuff with Chase Bank, where they're redlining the black communities, not making loans and giving them access to money. You know, all this stuff that you and I mean, we see this. You know, and the fact that you're fighting for this, and you've got black people blocking you because they're trying to represent some bullshit on the Democratic plantation. That's really something to be outraged about. Like I respect you for not being angrier about it. I like the fact that you kind of brought the conversation forward, and I support that, man. You know, and you and I talked about this today. I told you about that crazy conversation that DL Hughley and I had. You know, I mean, DL getting on the phone, cussing me out, calling me names, and act like he gonna roll up and punch, like he really was physically threatening physical violence. And I'm like, first of all, I'm in the gym every day, so if you show, and I know karate, so you show up on me, you better bring your security, because it's not going to end well for you. But then I'm like, why are we even having a conversation like this over some Democrat Republican crap?
It's utterly insane.
Part to me, go ahead.
It's utterly insane that we can't have independent voices that speak for themselves without people being emotional about their party. I mean, that makes no sense. We black folks have been living projects. People talking about Project 2025. We've been living Project 1619 to 2024, because we have never moved to a decent level in America. And the fact that we literally have people who are so tied to the party that a Jamal Green can't criticize or say anything that he believes, that a Dr. Watkins can't say what he believes without them getting in their feelings and just spewing attacks. It's insane. If we don't have independent voices, we are already losing. This is what my mentor told me today, Mr. Paymon Rami. This is what he said. He said, if we have a time where people cannot speak the truth, we've already lost. If everybody was on the same page, then that's a problem. You have to have people that see things differently, to point things out that people can't see, that says, that criticize everyone in an independent fashion and not just leaning towards anyone. If you cannot have these type of voices, then we've already lost. So we gotta do better with allowing these DL Hughley and Ricky Smiley and all these fools who get mad at folks for being critical, because we want to see more, because we know that we deserve more. That's not a problem for voices to demand more for their people. We should be doing that.
So let me ask you this, Jamal. How often do you get called a Trump supporter because you won't line up and vote for the Democrats?
You get a lot of those. Of course, you get a lot of those, and that's why I did a video and I said, listen, this is not a Trump response. This is a common sense response. See, here's the thing: it gets less and less because the very people in these communities understand where I'm coming from, because they see it. They walk out their door and they see how much migrants are getting, and they can't even pay their rent. They walk out their door and they can barely eat, and they see how the city is not bringing forth them resources. So when I speak, a lot of those folks in the communities understand and they feel me. So they're not saying I'm a Trump supporter. They're saying, no, this is common sense because I'm experiencing these issues right now. And I think that that's what's important, is speaking for the unheard, right? In my city, Dr. Watkins, people don't get have their voices heard because politicians don't come into these communities. The mayor and politicians don't come and listen to these people and understand what they're going through. And a lot of the people in power, like the mayor, are not from these communities, so they don't understand or are not as passionate about these issues. I'm passionate about them because I've experienced every issue that you can name, whether it be personally or in my family. And so that's why we must always make sure that they have a voice in this political system that drowns them out and makes them discouraged from voting.
Well, let me somebody, Darren asked a really good question just now, and he said, "What's the difference?" He said, "You just called D.L. Hughley and Ricky Smiley fools, and Roland called you stupid. Make it make sense." Now, what I'm gonna give my response, and then I want you to respond, Jamal. So, remember, he didn't go to Roland's page trying to pick a fight. He didn't go look for Roland. Roland sought him out, and then on top of that, again, Roland's the elder. Right. So I've had times where young guys got mad at me about something, but I'm not going to go act like I'm 20 something years old. It's my responsibility to set a different example. I've had people were asking me about this, man. They were like, so what would you do if somebody rolled up on you like that? I said, what are you talking about? That's happened to me many times. And I looked at man, and my belief is simple. There's nothing I believe you should ever say about somebody on social media that you could not say to their face, looking them right in the eye. So every single person I've ever, and I have people that, that I don't get along with, or who don't get along with me. I'm going to put it, because I don't hold it. I don't keep it personal, but Umar Johnson, Kwame Brown, Roland Martin, a few guys that had issues with me. I specifically stated, I said, look, if you see me at a conference, come into a room with me, look me in the eye, and we're going to talk about this. I'm okay with that. And the idea that Roland wouldn't, that he has a lot to say on Twitter, but then when you kind of approached him, his demeanor seemed to change. That was problematic. So I'll let you answer for yourself, Jamal, but you didn't go looking for Roland. You didn't start any of this.
Correct. So one, I don't use my platform to engage in personal insults to anyone who disagrees with me. I believe in everyone having a voice. I believe that, truly. And many people I disagree with, I listen to why they view things how they view things, just to understand, whether they paid to do so or whether they were raised a certain way. Everyone has their own point of view. And I think we take these things too personal. This is all a political game that we have no power in. And there are folks that are far richer and far powerful that really play this game on a large level that don't even speak. You don't even know who they are. Yet we have people that are literally emotional about this game, and they don't get nothing from it but a couple dollars. Just a couple, while people are really playing billion-dollar games. We know this for real. The contractors who playing billion-dollar games with this, we sitting here fighting over a couple $1,000s that you're getting in ad money and being mad at people criticizing what you're talking about. We got to do better. I don't come for people. I leave Roland alone. I don't agree with him. I don't. And if I do say anything about anyone, it's going to be criticizing what they're saying. I'm not going to call them stupid, dumb, you this, you a fool. I'm not going to do that, because that's taking this game too personal. We all can be on every side of the aisle. I got Republican friends, I got Democrat friends, I got independent friends, I got people who don't vote at all, plenty of them. And we need to be able to engage in discussion and debate. And we could do that all day long. And we may be able to come to common ground, we may not. But that don't mean that, we should be insulting each other over it. And that's what took me by shock, because Roland could have easily said, hey, I disagree with you. Come on my show and let's debate this. And what I would have said, okay, I'll do that. And I'd have been on his show and we can have a debate about the issues and not be hurling insults and seeing each other in public.
Well, it was interesting when I talked to you earlier today, Jamal Green. That's who I'm speaking to right now. I want everybody to know his name, and I'm gonna put his social media up here. And if y'all can hit the thumbs up button, by the way, and subscribe and all that stuff, that's the goal. But there's his Twitter, Follow him on Twitter.
Doc, it's JAYMAL on Twitter.
Oh, my bad, man.
Oh no,
Let me
you
fix
fine,
that.
you fine.
I'm gonna fix it right now, brother.
They gonna find me.
I'm not gonna misspell the name of the king, man, because you out here doing the work, and I respect that. So let me make sure I spell this man's name right. So thank you for correcting me, brother. I was thinking about JA''MAL.
I know. They
Yeah,
all
yeah.
do it.
So that was what came to mind. But you know, one of the things that I found really interesting when you and I talked earlier is you mentioned that you actually did, and y'all need to hear this. Everybody, listen up. I'm about to tell y'all something that's real cool about this, brother. You ran for mayor of Chicago.
Yep.
At the age of 27, you ran for mayor. So in that process, first of all, I'd like to understand just what drove you to do something like that at such a young age. And then second of all, I'd like for you to, if you could reflect on some things you learned about the political game, because a lot of things you understand about how the money works and the corruption and all that.
Yes.
You're on a different level from a lot of people. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I'm the youngest candidate to ever run for mayor of the city of Chicago, and I think that people need to understand why that's so important. In the city of Chicago, the third largest city in this country, it is very hard to make the ballot in the city. You have to move for more signatures to run for mayor than you have to run for president of the United States. 12,500 signatures. So that means that you must bring at least 3 times the amount of signatures. And we had to bring over 30-some thousand signatures just to make the ballot in 90 days. And so this is a very corrupt city. And we were able to galvanize enough grassroots support to really make an impact. And we won every single debate. I had the highest approval rate in every poll. We moved forward policies that they are still into this day trying to execute. And we beat 4 sitting elected officials who were in the race. And I think that and everyone who beat me had at least $10 million, and we didn't have one. And what it did is we were able to show that the people had a voice. And while it may be discouraging to a lot of the communities who didn't vote, that I didn't win, that I'm most popular in, they understand the impact that was made and the revolution and the uprising that's starting to happen. I ran for mayor because there is no voice for the unheard in our city. This is a corrupt city. This is if you know, Chicago was a mob ran city for many years. This is not a city where a person that comes from where I come from can be mayor of it. And the only black mayor, real black mayor that we had, true black mayor that we had, was here in Washington, who we all know there was suspicion around his death. And now the last 2 mayors, Lori was from Ohio and Brandon is from Elgin. And neither one of them have ever been raised or frequented the communities of Chicago. They were both outsiders who came into the city to become mayor. So there's never had, we've never really had a long-term or just, even a mayor for 5 years who actually was from our neighborhoods. And I think that it was important to make sure there was a voice in this race that actually knew the actual issues, that was good on policy, that understood finance and understood how to empower the people. And we ran an amazing campaign that garnered thousands and thousands of votes throughout this city and beat 4 sitting elected officials who had more money and they were elected.
Wow. Well, you know what? I see you winning a lot of elections in the future, man. I think it's great that you have your finger on the pulse of the problems of the city. The corruption is huge. You were talking to me earlier about, and I'd like for you to address some of that. What's going on in terms of the migrant issue? I've never been against immigration legally, of course, but when you look at what's going on with illegally, it's crazy. And for everybody that warns me about Project 2025, I bring up Project 2034, and Project 2034 is, in my view, and they don't call it this, but Project 2034 is that they allow so many people into the country. They fast track them to citizenship. They give them the right to vote. And then your black vote is worthless. Your black vote is completely diluted because you can't have enough babies to outpace the number of people that are coming across the border every year. And what's fascinating to me, J Ball, is it seems to me that they've got us voting against our own interest, like literally voting in a way that's going to destroy ourselves.
Yes.
Can you kind of speak to that in terms of what you've seen on the ground, in terms of what's going on with the migrant situation in Chicago?
It is definitely happening. Right here in Chicago, as you know, over 7, 8 million people have come across the border over the last few years. And it's a alarming number because it hasn't been that way in years because Biden, signed some orders that allowed for folks to claim asylum a little bit easier than when Trump was in office. And so they have been flooding the border every year of Biden's term. It at least been 1.2 million to 2 million people per year. And so the reason for that is because one, we've always, destabilized region. We know what America does in our foreign relations and what we do to other countries. We know that, which is why we know people always try to come to America. But what has happened is a lot of folks have taken advantage of the asylum seeking orders. Carlos,
I know, right? I saw that comment. I didn't mean to distract you. It's kind of funny. He's a comedian. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
But what we've had was millions of people that are utilizing the law for their benefit. The new, because they're able to come over, claim asylum, and then go into sanctuary cities and receive all of these resources. And what's happening is they're making phone calls saying, "Hey, you need to get to the border and make it here." And that has really driven a lot of folks over the border. And then what happened is the Republican governors who were forced to take care of them in Texas and Florida and other cities, what they've done is they said, listen, we got millions of migrants coming into our states, and we got to take, because the federal government is not, people not understanding, federal government is not expending majority of these expenses. The states and the cities are. And so it'll be a different situation if the federal government was paying for this, but they're not. They're giving a very small percentage of incentives and resources to cities who take on folks who come across the border. And so what's happened is the governor said, hey, I'm sending these folks to sanctuary cities since y'all love these policies so much, which was a brilliant plan. And whether Democrat or Republican, I think would be a brilliant plan in my view of putting mayors to the test to say, since y'all sanctuary city, then y'all can have them because we spending a lot of money over here. And that's what has happened in Chicago. Our mayor has welcomed them with open arms, and he has taken money from the COVID fund. We still had COVID dollars left over. He took tens of millions of dollars from the COVID fund. Now we're at $1 billion deficit in this city right now. And so over the next couple months, they're going to be raising our taxes because we have spent city dollars, hundreds of millions of city dollars on this crisis. And now we're in a deficit. And now the city is going to raise our taxes because they are taking care of them. When they come here, they get shelters. We're spending over $1 million in shelters each and every day. We're spending millions on food. We gave a $125 million contract to feed them and put $17 a day to feed them 3 times a day. The state has a program to give them 6 months of free rent up front. And so they've spent over $50 million in free rent for the last 18 months. The county is spending money on county care for health care. The city is spending money on child care and transportation to transport them around to school and to stores and to watch their children. We are literally pouring billions of dollars. We're well over $1 billion over the last 12 to 18 months. We're at least at $2 billion that we have spent on this crisis. While yet people in these communities have been begging for resources, 20,000 homeless youth, veterans that are homeless. We have been begging for the buildings that are vacant in our community to be turned into something, but they use those buildings for shelters for the migrant situation. When you see what has happened and the agenda that is unfolding. And then on top of that, our governor has signed a bill to allow immigrants to be police officers, to allow them to have driver's licenses. And so there is an agenda here. And that if Black people don't understand what's at stake, if Black people don't build economic power and rebuild Black Wall Streets and build political power so that we can have voices in these seats, if Black people don't start to buy land and buy homes and really take heed to what's going on, we will not have economic power or political power in this country. And if you think the racial wealth gap is large and keep getting larger, it is going to be the largest it has ever been over this next decade.
Wow. Well, it's interesting. I'm really proud of Black Chicago because we're one of the few cities that's really gone out of its way to say this is BS. You're doing all this stuff right in front of our faces. These are resources that you've denied us for many, many years. Now you're giving it to people who just got here. That's not going to fly. And I don't see the same level of outrage in other major cities. New Yorkers are fighting a little bit too.
Yeah, they're fighting.
So I almost feel like
but
Black. Oh, go ahead, please. What you say, brother?
I want our listeners to be educated on this piece right here, because it started in Chicago when a lot of this agenda happened. And guess who was the culprit? The top political financial guru, Rahm Emanuel. Rahm Emanuel, when he was mayor, I want y'all to look this up. Y'all can look it up while we're talking. Go look up 2011 Office of New Americans. The Office of New Americans was created in this city in 2011. We were the first city to do so. That office was the same office that they started piloting in other cities. And Joe Biden, 8 days into office, created an Office of New Americans on the federal level 3 years ago. And so I want y'all to understand that the agenda for Office of New Americans in our city and nationwide is to coordinate all of the departments to enhance the lives of folks who come here. Now, when they created the Office of New Americans, I said, well, why we don't have an Office of Black Americans? Why don't we coordinate all of the offices for the people who have been suffering the most and had the most trauma? We're not coordinating all the offices to make sure they have jobs and they have priority of resources. But we have an Office of New Americans that prioritizes anyone who from another country into our city. It is all of the departments in our city must coordinate efforts to make sure they have housing, to make sure they have jobs, to make sure they have stipends, they get a priority of resources because of this Office of New Americans. And now it's on the federal level with a $150 billion budget. Go and look and read these PDF plans. You can look them up on Google. We should have our own office for people who have suffered here, ancestors that have suffered here, the folks who have been in these communities. They've been redlined. They've got no justice for being redlined all these years. The home ownership rate has never increased for Black folks. We've been at 40% since FHA was created. We have literally still the racial wealth gap has continued to increase. But you mean to tell me you don't have an office of Black Americans for folks who are actually have been suffering here and been treated terribly by their government and by the financial institutions to coordinate an effort to enhance their lives? That's the slap in the face. And I want people to go and educate and read the Office of New America. Try to read it.
Wow. Well, everybody who's listening, I'm speaking with Jamal Green, and Jamal Green is he was brought to my attention after what happened with Roland Martin, and you guys can go check out that video. It's online, but I want to move past that because this man is far greater than just one incident. And the reason I invited you in here, man, is because I wanted people to know about all the work that you're doing and also hear your side of the story in terms of what happened with Roland. I mean, and of course, Roland and I haven't talked since he got mad at me in 2011 or something. He sent me a big old long text message because he was pissed off at me, and I just said, okay. I can't tweet that much. My thumbs get tired. Right. But still though, even if Roland has something to say or he had a perspective, he'd be welcome to come in and share that point of view. I have nothing against him. At the same time, I like the fact that you are at least giving us your type of leadership has given us an opportunity to branch out as a community, right? Nothing wrong with being pro-Democrat, nothing wrong with being pro-Republican. But remember, being pro-Democrat and being pro-Republican ain't always the same as being pro-Black.
Correct.
Sometimes
Not at
they
all.
can, right, exactly. And I think that we're starting to see the difference. And so people like yourself, in my view, are the difference makers. You know, you're the ones that are gonna help the world to help us be a little bit freer, because
Yeah,
there's nothing free about everybody being forced to vote for the same politicians. Nothing
exactly.
free. That's not freedom. So let me ask you this final question, man, before you bounce out of here, brother, or we both bounce out. So when you become mayor of Chicago, and I'm gonna when you run, I'm gonna give you a full. I don't just because you check my record, man. I tell people all the time, I don't endorse politicians. I don't. I made it. I make an exception, like with Cornel West. His vice
Yeah.
president's gonna come into my platform a couple of days, and because I just love the guy, he's a good man.
He
But
has been an
I don't mess
amazing
with
man to
politics.
me many years too. So he's a
Yeah,
very good
he's
guy.
very good brother. Yeah, and the Kennedy guy wanted to come in and sit where you sit, and I said, nah,
Yeah.
that's a waste of fucking time. I don't want to do that shit. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna back you, man. So when you become mayor of Chicago, what's that administration gonna look like?
You know what? We need common sense government in our city, and I think that we play too much on who's left and who's right. The reason Brandon won, he got to the top two where they saw the white guy as right and racist, and they saw him as black and progressive. And they were wrong about both of them, right? And I think that we got to stop playing into these labels and where you link. We need common sense government, and that's what local government is about. Local government ain't about Republican, Democrat. In Chicago, we're nonpartisan, so you don't even have to declare a party, right? It's about making sure that the people in his city have the resources and the quality of life they deserve. We have some of the highest taxes in this country right here in Illinois. And the fact that the quality of life for people in these neighborhoods, that they walk outside that door and they don't have a store for miles living in food deserts, that they walk outside that door and they walking past abandoned buildings that ain't been touched in 10, 20 years, abandoned lots that ain't been touched in 20 years, is that they can do their funded.
Oh, looks like the Illuminati got him.
In
They're
their
messing with
neighborhoods
the
is where it
Illuminati's
is.
messing with your
And
Wi-Fi, brother. Sorry, can you repeat that last part
shoot.
you just said? Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
My
Go
bad.
ahead, please. That's
Roland
all right.
Martin messing my Wi-Fi up. The fact is, is is insane. Folks need to be empowered to rebuild their communities, and I believe that, number one, which is why I presented the plan to have the first public bank in Chicago, where it can actually focus on the neighborhoods that have been disinvested the most. Which is why I said, if you develop a city property a lot within a year, that you can get a 10-year tax freeze. We should make it easier for businesses to open up within 60 days. We got to empower those people in the communities who've been here to rebuild their communities. And I think that's important, and because the economic agenda is the most important agenda. Because you go in Lincoln Park, they got 75% plus homeowners that own their properties. You see a totally different story. You see mass development. You see business, thriving business corridors. You see the best neighborhood schools. We got to duplicate that all across the city. And that's going to be making sure that folks can do so economically. And that's what the mayor of Chicago needs to do.
Yes. All right. Well, everybody, give a digital round of applause for this brother, Jamal Green. I'm specifically asking y'all to go to Twitter and go follow the brother. We're going to get him galvanized and supported so that when he runs for Chicago mayor and eventually when he wins, he will be in a position to help make a difference. I believe in what you're doing, brother, and I have a lot of respect for you. So thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it. Oh, looks like his screen is frozen. Can you hear me, brother? You know what? The Illuminati's messing with J Mall's Wi-Fi again. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and say goodbye to everybody. I'm gonna pull Jamal down. Hey brother, thank you for coming in. And we're gonna head on out. So God bless y'all, and don't forget that tomorrow morning I'm doing free financial consciousness training. We do this every single morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. If you'd like to join us and get an invitation to join us for class for free, we do this 7 days a week. Text the word morning, MORNING, to 87948. Text the word morning to the phone number 87948. And also, Jamal, I think he's listening backstage. So I had to pull you down, brother, because the Wi-Fi went bad. But I want to go ahead and publicly mention that I'd like to invite Jamal to come join us at the All Black National Convention. I'd love for him to be on stage and join a panel. So if you are available, October 25th through the 27th, brother, I would love to have you there. Because I think your perspectives need to be heard, and I support it 100%. So anybody who wants to join us at the convention is going to be in Lombard, Illinois, right outside Chicago, October 25th through the 27th at the Westin Hotel. You can get more information at allblacknationalconvention.com. That's allblacknationalconvention.com. You can come if you're a Democrat, Republican, gay, straight, male, female, young, old, rich, poor, educated, uneducated, as long as you're Black first. So if you're Black first, then that is the place for you. We are there to solve our community's problems, and J-Ball is a problem solver, and that's why I'm extending this invitation to you, brother. I hope you can make it. So everybody have a good night. God bless you, and we'll see you soon. Take care now.